Okay, hi everyone. Okay, I'll go back to the uni times, my university times. So it was 2006. It was after the Lebanese war, Lebanese-Israeli war, and I had just graduated from high school. I loved scientific subjects. I wanted to study biochemistry, which I did for just 1 year, and then I quit it. So after my year there, my mother was insisting that I go to a bit easier major, so I had to transfer to business marketing. And it was back then when I met that guy, so I guess if I hadn't moved to the business major, I would have not got married and got into a terrible marriage and then got divorced. So it was, so like my life entirely changed, I guess. So I studied business marketing. After my second year, I got a part-time job in a fashion retail store. Before that, I was really very encouraged. Like, I'm studying business and marketing, and we had some subjects about change and businesses. So back then, my father had his store, which now you know because I was trying to make that until the end, but no problem. So he had this business, he had this bookshop. He'd been collecting books for like ever, and it wasn't really good for some time. It was inaccessible. So there was actually some access when I was still at the uni. So one time I decided, okay, I made a very short plan that I wanted to go and help him. I named myself as the change agent, which is usually like companies would pay really much for that to get a consultant and change a certain business type. But then I allocated myself and I went just for 2 days. Which I didn't really clean much. I just cleaned 2 shelves from the bookshop. That was in 2010. I created a Facebook group. Back then there wasn't any pages. So after that, like a few years later, I got back and saw what I've written on that group on Facebook. So I got that time. I directly got my part-time job. I ended up working with this company for around 7 years. I loved it. It really was for me as a second family. I got a great experience. I was married for that time while working, and for some reason my ex-husband was insisting that I go into a better time job. Like I used to work in retail, so there are really long hours, and we'd finish late, and he wanted kids. I didn't want. I was really young at that time. I was like 20s, early 20s. So because he insisted, I had to move and apply to an office-based job. Ironically, just after I got the job, like one month later, I decided that I really needed a divorce, so I did that. So okay, I was hesitant, would I go back to my previous job? It was in fashion retail. I had really a good opportunity there, maybe to travel and become a brand manager or get like a really good career path. But then I said, no, khalas, no, I'm in a better scheduled office job. I have Saturday and Sunday off, which is something that I would have not dreamed of, like for around 4 years. I used to work on holidays for really long hours. So I stayed in my job. It was actually really great, and if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't have maybe gotten this more time to start thinking of doing something else other than my job. So when I went back to my family's house, childhood house, my father had been even collecting more books, and because the bookshop was totally closed, there wasn't even any little access for it. So it was even more than collecting. It was mostly hoarding as well. So he started getting anything. He'd be collecting books, papers, documents, like any other thing. So by that time, we had another apartment beside our garden, underneath our apartment, our house. And it was a bit empty, so he started collecting books there. And no one knew about that until I came, and I was checking the house down, and it was like really full of books, and no one used to see what he's doing. So I decided in the afternoons after I come from my job to start checking the books, see what he's been collecting, what are the items. And I got the idea that I maybe need to revive the Facebook group that I have done around 5 years ago. So I went to the group and I found that I have written something that says, no, this project will come to life, even for whatever time it takes. And it was then when everything started, if you want. So I created a Facebook page. It was more public and we reached more people. So I started meeting people from around the industry. A bookshop that organizes book markets every Saturday of each month. And then that was the first time I was ever invited to a local book market. So I took a little trolley of some books that I randomly priced. And it was in Suq Tayyib in downtown. So I had a little table that I displayed some books there. And I came back home. I've sold some books for 50 thou. And I came back to Dad. Dad, I sold for you some books, so here you go. Our business was closed for around more than 15 years. So Dad used to stay outside the shop. Everything was closed, and he'd only sell newspapers and magazines, which it was not profitable at all. My brothers and I used to pay for the yearly rent from our own jobs. No, the bookshop was not profitable at all. But it was for him, he's now 70, so it was for him just to stay, spend some time there and be a bit productive than never, or than to come and sit home. So it started. I started going to more book markets. I started going to street festivals, like any event on the streets that would really normalize how people look at books or how people would find them on the streets. This is why I consider that Halabi Bookshop, our bookshop, along with some other movements that had got the uprising in the last few years in Beirut, have really contributed in how people see books, how people perceive reading, and people who read. So during 2015, I've been twice, every month we'd go twice to book markets at least. I was still at my job back then. We'd really, everyone who'd meet us and who'd see that we're displaying books either on the street or on the tables would say, "اللي بعد في حدا بيقرأ?" إنه هيك in the tone. So أنا okay. And everyone thought I'm crazy that I'm resigning to start this bookshop and to renovate it, which was at the end of 2015. Actually, before that, in 2014, I went with my father to the Beirut Arabic International Book Fair, and I was asking how is it, the participation and the rules. So they said, "Oh no, there's a waiting list, and you should really, just ask for a register before we might close it somewhere." So that summer 2015, I was getting my summer bag. We were going the first time to the beach around July, and I was getting it, and a little booklet fell on my head, and that was the booklet of the Beirut International Book Fair. So I don't know if it's because my closet was really cluttered with books or papers, or if it was because it's fate. So again, fate here. So this is it. So I started from July to December calling the guy for the Arabic Book Fair and asking him, please make sure we're registered, and do you need any down payments, anything, please just make sure we're in. So we ended up going to the book fair 2015 for the first time. So I resigned in November, and it was 2 weeks after the book fair, so I had only 2 weeks to organize for everything. We had a 9 square meters stand that we had to fill with books. It wasn't like the little trolley I took the first time, because I had to prepare much in 2 weeks, and it was only me. So my mother, she's like a typical Lebanese or Arabic mother. She's the naysayer, of course, and whatever you want to say, back to my major between business and biochemistry, so she's not very supportive. I love her and everything, of course, but we still argue. She still says no about a lot of things. She still says that I can't do, which is a phrase that I really hate, because I can. And the difference now is that I am able to prove her wrong, that she knows that I can do something that she would say I can't. It's not because I'm a girl. She'd say this also to my brother and other brothers. So it's just in the mindset of Lebanese moms and Arab moms. So she was the only person who would go with me, available to go with me to the Arabic Book Fair. So it was me and her who planned and did everything, all the preparations for the Beirut Book Fair. And it was then when we got our other nicknames. My work nickname is Adnan. Adnan is like a very masculine Arabic name for the foreigners. For me, Adnan and not Adnan, Adnan يعني هيك Adnan is and مش بس بيروتي أنا for me it's like a carpenter's name كتير بيشبه نجار مثلا. So mom got Munira. Her name is Tamar, and she got Munira. It was because we weren't looking like any girls and a woman and a lady. We had chopped nails, and it was really hard for us. We didn't really look good, so we had just an hour to go shower and fix ourselves and come back for the opening of the book fair. We managed. It was for 2 weeks, from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. It was really hard, but it was a great experience. So 2015, December, it ended, and then I took like a month for the vacation. It was because I didn't take my yearly vacation before I left my job. So when I came back, I started planning. We had this عن جد it was a psychological obstacle إذا بدكم that my mom of course originated, that you cannot open the bookshop. It is really hard. You cannot really organize all this clutter that my father had collected, and it was really big. I can't really come to explain how much this was of really an obstacle for us. So of course I didn't care. I was really planning everything, staying nights and planning everything. I had my vision board. I had some pictures of international booksellers and bookshops like that really have a similar story to ours. And luckily, like after a year, I really had the same bookshop as on my vision board. It was Shakespeare and Company. It's from Paris. It's a very well-known bookshop, so it was our inspiration. A lot of people now come to our bookshop and think that it reminds them of a bookshop they have seen somewhere. So they usually come and say, the name of Shakespeare and Company, and I say, of course, it's our inspiration. So I don't consider this a dream. I consider this a goal, of course, that I was really able to, with the family, of course, to make it come to life. So this is it. So we've done the renovation. It took us 2 months to remove all the clutter, remove everything. And by the way, the bookshop had started in 1958 by my grandfather. It wasn't a bookshop back then. It was a grocery store. So we still had some refrigerators, a lot of items that were not really related to books that we had to remove. Even when that started collecting books like in the 90s, what was supposed to be the cheese refrigerator had a lot of magazines and newspapers inside. So we removed this as well. We kept the bookshop as is. Of course, we just made some maintenance to it, and it took us around another 6 months. It wasn't easy. We've done a lot of things by our own hands. My brother did the decoration. It was self-financed. We still went to book markets throughout this time to finance the renovation of the bookshop. So. This is it. So end of 2016, the bookshop was fully operational. We started doing our cultural activities early 2017. We do now regular children storytellings on Saturdays. Anything related to books. We have our own book club since May 2017. And back in November, we had a tea party. So we had the setting of Alice in Wonderland. A lot of people came. It was free of charge. They had tea tasting from Awanti. It's a Lebanese brand that is signature tea brand. So it was nice. Everyone was coming. So when I saw the amount of people coming in, I just thought that I've done what I really wanted, and of course you can. So this is it. Thank you.